The Rangers look to get themselves a little redemption tonight against the Florida Panthers, who, as you guys know, and I hate to say it, knocked them out of the Eastern Conference Finals last postseason. So let's talk some Rangers hockey with Jonny Lazarus, host of the Daily Faceoff, one of the many hosts of the Daily Faceoff. You guys got a real cool thing going on there, man. I'm locked into the podcast as well as our Up in the Blue Seats podcast here for the New York Post. Jay Lazzy, man, I guess let's just get straight into it. Let's talk about this guy, Ryan Lindgren, who made his debut on Tuesday against the Canadians. How my man look, and I know he didn't do too much, but how long do you think until he shakes the rust off and he's back to balling?
Ryan Lindgren's going to take probably 3 to 5 games, I would say, to be back to normal. But one thing with Ryan Lindgren that stood out the most in his first game back on Tuesday was that he was paired on the third pair with Victor Mancini. So not only is Lindgren coming back from injury, Brandon, but he's also adjusting to a new D partner. As most Ranger fans know and people that watch the Rangers play regularly, Lindgren's usually on that top pair with Adam Fox, the Norris Trophy winning defenseman. So when you come back into game speed, again, his first game of the season after missing a lot of time due to a face injury, and I know it's not a lower body, it's not an upper body, so there isn't a ton of adjustment physically. Getting into game shape is still just a different feeling, especially on the road in a tough building like Montreal. So Lindgren wasn't really out there doing his normal penalty killing, getting his normal minutes with Fox. He played 17 minutes, didn't really have much on the score sheet, but I think as the games progress here, I'm not sure what will happen with this Fox-Miller pairing. It's still a trial and error window right now for Peter Laviolette and the Rangers. I assume at some point they'll go back to Fox and Lindgren, but until that happens, we'll see how Lindgren adjusts on that third pair with Victor Mancini.
Well, whatever they did against the Habs, it worked because they opened up a can on them, 7 goals on the night. Let's talk about the early season. Only 6 games into the season. I guess tonight will be the 7th. 5-0-1, start the season. But, Lazzy, throw the record out. Is this the best that they've looked in terms of on-ice performance to start a season off in recent years?
Well, they set a franchise record for most consecutive games with a point, so history would say it's their best start ever. That said, the competition hasn't been so challenging. Tonight's going to be a massive test for the Rangers, obviously, going up against the defending Stanley Cup champions, even though they're missing Alexander Barkov, in my opinion, who is their best player. But you look at the competition the Rangers have had early. They beat Detroit twice. They had a tough game at home against Utah where they fell in overtime. They beat a weak Montreal team on the road. But their most impressive win was on the road in Toronto last Saturday, where Igor Shesterkin played outstanding. He really shut down this high-flying Toronto Maple Leaf offense. And, the most impressive thing for me thus far for the Rangers is their 5-on-5, which has been a huge issue for them in the past, producing offense at even strength. But right now, not only are they first in the expected goals at 5-on-5 per 60 minutes, but they're actually exceeding their expectation, scoring 4.25 goals per game at 5-on-5 when they're projected to just score 3.95 goals per game at 5-on-5. So they're getting contributions throughout the entire lineup with guys like Capo Kakko, Will Cooley, Philip Hedl had 2 goals the other night. Mika Zibanejad scored a huge goal at 5-on-5, his first of the season, which wasn't an empty net, so great to see him get going. And that's been the most impressive thing thus far for the Rangers is their 5-on-5 play. But again, the competition hasn't really been the best it will and could be.
Well, they get that full competition tonight, and they get to put that 5-on-5 to action and see how that goes up against some strong competition because they get a shot at the team that knocked them out of the Eastern Conference Finals, the Panthers. New year. New squad, but there has to be some bad blood between these two squads. Break this one down for us tonight, Jay Lazzy. How do you expect this game to go?
I don't know if there's bad blood from the Panthers side, but there's definitely bad blood from the Rangers side. Well, it's funny because I just left Florida Panthers morning skate, and Paul Maurice was talking about the Rangers series last year versus the previous 2 years where Florida played against the Boston Bruins, and he said those were the most physical playoff series that he had ever seen. He said in Game 1 of 2023, there were 86 hits, and all 86 of those hits were big boy hits. So I don't think Florida has that bad taste in their mouth toward the Rangers like the Rangers might have toward Florida. With that said, Paul Maurice also mentioned that he watched Game 5 of last year's conference final this morning to put himself back in that mindset and that mind frame of the hatred that he wants to build up for his team tonight. Obviously, the Rangers, want to get the revenge. It's a revenge factor game from last year, but at the end of the day, the Panthers did have the last laugh, and I don't think they'll be that upset if they lose a game in October versus a 7-game series back in what finished in June. So it should be a fun one tonight. The Rangers obviously should come out firing, but Sergei Bobrovsky always seems to bring his best against Igor Shesterkin, and I expect a goalie duel tonight between those two.
What do you think the environment and the vibes are going to be like at the Garden tonight? We talking playoff environment in late October?
I mean, the environment at the last home game, which was Detroit, was pretty remarkable. I thought the first game of the year, though, was insane. Obviously, it was a crazy game against the Utah Hockey Club with the calls, the disagreed calls, the disallowed calls. So the Ranger fans were fired up for that game. I imagine, it's been a few days, I believe 10 days, if my math is right, since we last saw the Rangers at the Garden. So I imagine the fans are very, very anxious to get in the building and see their boys play, especially with how well they have been playing. So I expect a playoff atmosphere is a fair way to put it tonight. That's for sure.
Bro, we're UMass guys. Our math is always right. Yeah. Come on, man. We got that UMass education.
I don't know about that.
Tell the people they can find you, man.
All over Twitter or X, JLazzy23. My morning show, Morning Cup of Hockey, every Monday through Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. It's where I do most of my work. Also have some stories coming out on dailyfaceoff.com, so look out for that. But thank you, Brandon. As always, it's always fun hopping on here, and LGR.
My guy, LGR.